The world knows the black label, the square bottle, the old number 7, but very few know that one of the most powerful alcohol empires in history was built by an orphan, shaped by an enslaved master distiller, and nearly ended with a kick to an iron safe. Because the story of Jack Daniel is not really about whiskey, it is about obsession, about engineering, about how a lost boy turned chemistry into immortality and built a machine time could not destroy. Jasper Newton Daniel was born around 1850, though even his exact birth date was swallowed by history, lost in a courthouse fire. A fitting beginning for a man whose life would become half fact, half legend. His mother died soon after he was born. His father was gone not long after. By the age of 7, Jack was effectively alone, a runaway child wandering the Tennessee hills with nothing but survival instincts. And yet, history hides empires inside broken beginnings, because that lost boy would find refuge with a preacher and moonshiner named Dan Call. And in that unlikely place between religion and rebellion, Jack found his education. But the man who shaped his destiny was not Dan Call. It was Nathan Nearest Green, an enslaved distiller whose technical mastery of whiskey was decades ahead of his time. Green taught Jack something extraordinary, that whiskey wasn't merely made, it could be engineered. Through charcoal mellowing, raw spirit dripped slowly through 10 feet of sugar maple carbon, stripping away harsh compounds, removing impurities, creating something smoother, cleaner, more consistent. To most, this was craftsmanship. To Jack, it was scalable industrial logic, and he understood immediately: consistency creates power. That realization changed everything, because Jack no longer saw whiskey as farm alcohol. He saw a system, a repeatable machine, and in 1866 he did something radical. He registered his distillery, one of America's first, not merely as a business, but as an industrial process. He fused charcoal filtration with sour mash fermentation, using biology and chemistry to standardize flavor in a world ruled by inconsistency. And suddenly, he wasn't making whiskey anymore. He was engineering reproducibility. And reproducibility is where empires begin. Then came his next act of genius: water. Not ordinary water, limestone cave spring water from Lynchburg, Tennessee. Iron-free, mineral-rich, perfect for fermentation. Most saw a spring. Jack saw infrastructure. He didn't just own production, he owned geology. And that geology became a moat competitors couldn't replicate. Then came the mash bill: corn, rye, malted barley, a biological formula that would outlive its creator. And then, perhaps his most underrated innovation, the square bottle. To the world, it looked like design. To Jack, it was logistics. Round bottles rolled, broke, wasted space. Square bottles stacked tighter, shipped safer, reduced loss, improved packing density. Before supply chain theory existed, Jack Daniel was already practicing it. And that bottle helped carry his name across continents. By 1904, his whiskey won gold at the St. Louis World's Fair. Competing against Europe's finest, a Tennessee distiller was declared best in the world. But triumph often carries irony, because just 2 years later, Jack forgot the combination to his office safe. In frustration, he kicked it, broke his toe. The wound became infected, then gangrene, then death. He survived poverty, built an empire, mastered chemistry, only to be killed by his own temper. History can be brutally poetic. But here is where the story becomes stranger, because Jack Daniel died, yet Jack Daniels did not. During Prohibition, the stills went silent, the vats dried, the barrels stopped, but one thing was protected: the yeast. Because Jack's heirs understood, lose the yeast, lose the soul. That microscopic organism carried the flavor memory of the original process, and so while laws tried to erase whiskey, biology preserved it. Jack's ghost survived inside fermentation. Then came war. Again, the distillery shifted. Again, production changed. But scarcity created demand, and demand created legend. By the late 1940s, Jack Daniels was no longer simply a regional whiskey, it was myth. Then Frank Sinatra changed everything. One celebrity, one obsession, and suddenly a Tennessee whiskey became global identity. But beneath celebrity was still process, barrel science, warehouse thermodynamics, oak chemistry, controlled aging, precision at scale. Most companies compromise when they grow. Jack Daniels industrialized consistency. That is why it endured. Then Brown-Forman transformed it further, not by replacing the old machine, but scaling it, protecting the spring, preserving the yeast, expanding the process without breaking its soul. And that may be the real miracle, that a 19th century distilling system could survive industrial capitalism without losing itself. Today, millions of cases move each year across 170 countries, yet every drop still traces back to that runaway boy, still filtered through charcoal, still born from cave water, still governed by a process laid down in 1866. And perhaps the strangest irony of all, in the county where Jack Daniel is made, it remains historically difficult to simply order a glass at a bar, as if history insists its contradictions remain visible. Jack Daniel never set out to build mythology. He pursued purity, one filtered drop at a time. But obsession, pursued long enough, sometimes becomes immortality. He turned abandonment into process, process into empire, empire into legend. And somewhere in Tennessee tonight, whiskey still drips through sugar maple charcoal along the same path he created more than a century ago. The boy is gone. The safe is rusted. The man is history. But the machine remains. And maybe that's Jack Daniel's true invention. Not whiskey, but permanence. A ghost preserved in chemistry. An immortal machine built by a runaway who refused to disappear.